Welcome back to Daybreak Africa. Actually, here from our studios here in Ondo City. I remain EZEKIEL. Okay, this morning we have a public affairs analyst as we discuss pressing issues concerning Nigeria. Now, it is one thing to have a policy, it is another to implement, and a whole new thing or entire ballgame when it comes to its effects on citizens. Now, so far we have certain effects as to the subsidy policy implementation on citizens. I hear lately, Angela rightly said, tomatoes now cost 500 naira for just 4 seed. Also, so we're actually feeling it even down to our education sector. Now, students tend to actually pay more for literally everything. Now, with us in the house is engineer ADEBOWALE at ADEAGBO to discuss this issue. Welcome to Daybreak Africa, engineer.
Yeah,
Good morning. It's been a while.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this
glad
morning.
to be back again.
Well, first of all, before we dive deeply into this discourse, what is your whole take on the issue of subsidy removal ever since the new administration set in?
Every form of subsidy, there's a two-way to it. You understand? It's a two-way thing. Somebody is at advantage and some persons are disadvantaged. You understand? So, for subsidy removal, one thing is very certain that even the previous government has been talking about is there is a problem of revenue in this country. You understand? So, and if you have a problem of for me, you understand, as an instance now. So, if I have a problem of income, you understand, everybody I'm doing freebies to, like I just cut them off, right, just to minimize my expenses. So I think subsidy is an initiative. Removal of subsidy is a good initiative because we have a problem of revenue in this country. So for fuel subsidy, even though we the masses are still suffering it, you understand, we have not seen palliatives yet, but we have been promised, but we just have to remove that subsidy, every form of subsidy, but it should come in different
you know, initially when this subsidy was implemented or put out there, some people were of the opinion that the government would have done that, but in a different form. Do you agree with this? Probably the government would have put things in order first before implementing such policy, because as you look at it recently, you could testify that citizens are the ones at the end of at the receiving end, rather.
That's a problem, or the inadequacies of the previous administrations. I don't mean the former President Buhari, even during President Goodluck Jonathan. They should have done all things that needed to be done. We all know that one day we are going to remove this subsidy. So everything that needs to be put in place, look at refineries that we have been talking about from decades back, is not still functional till now. They are just keeping promising and promising. So at this point, we just have to remove that subsidy. Even though I believe that some things have to be put in place, but is it not the same government that has been doing those things? They should have done all those things in time past. And if the current president has not taken that decision, I bet it with you, I know it will be very hard for him to do.
You just said they should have taken it from time past, but if you recall, during the time of Jonathan, there was a particular time where he wanted to do this and everybody was against it, including the citizens.
Yeah, for every decision, you understand, you just have to look at what could be the effect or net effect you get, because they use something I know very well, is that they seek emotional pity. You hear something like, Shebi, those government officials, they are embezzling our money. So if that is the only place we too can enjoy the national cake, they should leave it for that, at the detriment of the revenue of the company, of the country rather. So it was very hard for President Jonathan to take that decision, even though the economic what's it called, is FEC, Federal Economic this thing, was recommended that they should remove it. Even the former Minister of Finance recommended that they should remove it, but the whole country was turned upside down. If they are embezzling money, we agree, but this thing, let it be our own embezzlement too. But we are not really, it is not at our advantage in the larger picture, because when we are talking, they will be talking of 400 billion. how much fuel am I consuming at home, sir? I don't think in a whole year I purchase any fuel up to ₦1 million. So and they are talking of 400 billion every month. So it's kind of yeah. So you cannot make that decision then without considering some things. The country might have been upside down. So I feel they should have done maybe replace or renew or relicense what was it called, the all our what was it called, refineries. You understand? So to put them in good shape and refine all those products.
Now, over time, education has been considered more like fundamental human rights.
Yeah.
But as it stands with the issue of subsidy and present Nigerian situation, it's more like education is becoming rather a luxury, you know, for the fortunate. Recently, I think days ago, say 4 or 5 days ago, I saw an article where a private university were talking about increasing tuition and all that. And I believe I could hear rumors here and there as to recommend. For instance, are still talking about increasing certain forms of levy or things as such.
Yeah.
Now, what's your take on this current situation?
For education subsidy, I think I must laud the government. Like, I must appreciate everybody. All youths will say, what has this country done for us? If you want to know what this country has done for us, ask all these people jackpot, all our friends that has jackpot, to go and study just for masters, a year program. Ask them how much we are paying over there. You understand? So if this country has not done anything for me, that's education. I think this country has done for me, because I know how much it took me to just study engineering in 5 years. I know how much it would have cost me if I travel out of this country. And the same certificate we take out here is the same certificate we are using to our maybe undergraduate degree. Graduate degree is what we'll take down there, and they will still give us a master's degree admission. You understand? So I think for me, education is cheap in Nigeria, but we must look at factors surrounding it. You understand? So for education subsidy removal, is kind of, you know, you can't say it has its own advantage, but for me presently we are at great disadvantage. But for the most important education, as far as UNICEF is concerned, I think it's primary education and probably secondary education, is not tertiary education.
Now, in a situation where our education system or sector it's instead of limbo, do you see how would you consider this government? How intelligent are they? Because I mean, every country tends to focus more on the education. Yeah. But in a country where our education is on limbo and, like you said, we are not exactly getting it right, yeah. Does it really speak well of this new administration at all?
Well, what I feel should have been done, because we still have so many out of school children in this country. You understand? This is not the right time to remove any form of subsidy from education. We can try it from other, because where education is, there lies progress. You understand? Development goes there. You understand? The quality of our education determines what the future looks like. So I feel it is the wrong time for them to have removed that education or to consider removing education subsidy, owing to the fact that the number of Nigerians in multi-dimensional poverty is very, very high. You understand? So for somebody that cannot afford to even feed himself, how do you want the person to go to school? So, and if you cannot go to school, how do you want to develop such a nation, such a country? So the US, the China, the India of this world, they invested in their education. So it is not the right time to remove. So
it's safe to say the present administration are not getting it right at all.
Well, I can't.
Bearing in mind how they haven't really cushioned the effects of subsidy, and then considering how our education sector is being affected, and yet nothing per se is being done.
Well, it has not been pronounced that the education subsidy, they will remove all the interventions.
We're actually considering the effect subsidy has, I mean, fuel subsidy has on it. And then still on education, the issue of loan and student loan.
Yeah.
How genuine did you see that policy?
Well, student loan, I must confess, like, you actually need an intervention in that regard. You understand? But it's not meant for everybody. Like when I was in school, we have people that dropped out of school because of I barely pay 15,000 every year. So I went to a federal school, a federal university. Even because of that 15,000, some persons had to drop out of school. They were not selling textbooks, handouts to us, but they will recommend textbooks and all those things. Some people cannot afford it. They can't afford it. So if there is a loan, or there is a way I can get loan, maybe some people could have used that opportunity. But I feel what the federal government should have done better is to just increase their grant net. You understand? If they give out grants to people, maybe based on how you perform, and they issue out grants to people, you understand? But we cannot rule out the fact that people actually need something to go to school. You understand? So, and for a country that has revenue problem, you understand? So, where do they get money if they are not loaning it out? But it's not meant for everybody. We should have some persons that should be given grants. We should have some persons that should be given loan. The only problem I have with it is that even people that are paying to go to university presently, what is the assurance that when they are out of school, they are going to get a
There
job?
comes a bigger question, because if you actually tend to pay attention to the criteria of that loan and it's a repayment, does it really make sense to you as a person?
Or do you think there should be adjustments?
After 2 years, they should.
And then having to bring someone in the civil service and the procedures, is it reasonable?
Not everybody can meet up with that, because for somebody that I'm so sorry, I'm not just trying to. People that do sell in the market, they are not poor, but for some persons that are very they are not financially buoyant. Maybe they barely even have goods of 30,000 worth in their shop, and they don't even know people of those caliber, and you expect them to go and source for those kind of people to come and be a guarantor for this thing. I don't think it's the right thing to do. They have not done well in that regard. So it's not accessible to everybody. In that regard, that I should bring some kind of people that are in government or a government worker. That criteria is too hard to meet for some people. Some persons, maybe somebody like me can meet up with that criteria. But if you are looking at a flat for a common person in this country, you are looking at a plain grant for people to get a loan. That's a condition that is too hard.
Well, while chatting with an analyst recently, I got to ask a question, and the person was like, before this situation will be able to suit Nigerians perfectly, probably the government should be able to increase the minimum wage. What do you think of increment of minimum wage at this point where we have revenue issues?
Yeah. That minimum wage issue is, we have to look at it different sides, different perspectives. I'm not an economist, you understand, but an economist will have a better understanding. But one thing I know is that when you tend to increase minimum wage, it doesn't really help us. We need minimum wage to be able to sustain our day-to-day activities. We need an increment to be able to afford what is around. But I know as soon as everybody hears that there's an increment in minimum wage, you see inflation skyrockets. That is the problem we have with increasing minimum. But right now, Nigeria is due for minimum wage increment. But what of people that are not even in the pay this thing of this country? They are not government workers. They don't even work with some kind of private establishment that can afford to pay any minimum wage. Even right now, the minimum wage, not all establishments that are paying it can afford the 30,000 minimum wage. Not all can afford it. So in as much as I would have loved that this minimum wage increment, it will affect me. Me too. I want to earn more now. You understand? Because this fuel subsidy is not easy. You understand? I must confess. But that minimum wage issue, they have to look at it. The economist and the Minister of Labour, the Ministry of Labour and Employment, they have to look at it and work with the finance sector and how can it be best utilized, you understand, so that it will not really affect us as a country. Because at the end of the day, several times they have increased minimum wage. Things that we were buying 10 naira before, once those people selling, they have increased, let's just chop from this money, they take it to 15, 20 naira, and at the end of the day, the cost of things will now eat into the increment you think you have. At the end of the day, it will still be back to square one. So that's the way I look at it. I'm not an economist, but that's my own perspective about it.
But when you look at our educational sector now, do you think, well, you've earlier stated that this is not the right time for such subsidy removal, and even the policy.
You can't remove fuel subsidy and say go to this thing. It's too, it's choking.
Don't you think it is actually, because looking at our education sector, we have so many issues to deal with, especially with the issue of equipping the schools in order to give effective learning. What do you, doing this right now, what do you think will be the effect on that area? Will there still be effective learning, or it will just depreciate them more?
If they remove subsidy, because there is always, even there is subsidy, what I know, there is state fund in the universities, and there is is it UBEC or SUBEB for primary, these things. So those are kind of subsidy that they go about building, raising structures and all those things, and they give money to all those institutions to. So if they remove all those assistance, for instance, from university now, the university has to sit down. It's like granting university autonomy to do and undo. They can as well raise their fees to ×3, ×4, because number one, they are not even doing it because they want to generate revenue. They can't presently that the government is even assisting them. They are fighting with the government that they need more funds. If you now remove that subsidy,
what's going to happen?
In fact, it will be a colossal, what's it called? It will not be easy for the institutions. It will not be easy. It will not be easy. They can't afford to stand on their own presently, even though that is where we should be thinking of, because every developed country, they have all the all the universities and all this is being run by private establishments majorly, you understand. So, and another thing with Nigeria is that most everybody go to university. like I don't think we are not thinking in that direction. Like some of my classmates, we studied engineering. Some of them are not even using this engineering certificate to even work. It was what they did, what their hands finds doing, they are doing presently. But everybody, we have to go to university, we have to do this, we have to, even in the developed world, how many of them are going to university?
You know, there was a time when in Nigeria it felt like if you are not upgraded to that, graduate level, it will be so difficult to get a position out there. Because even now, you see that for ladies, they will tell ladies not to quickly go for their masters, because when they are looking for jobs and all of that, in case you meet someone there, and just because of your master's results, they might just withhold the job from you get the point. I think that's the situation where such things started playing out from.
Well, I think they should encourage people going to these technical schools and all those things. If people are seeing them, if government wants to do something, they can do it. They can actually do it. It's based on the way we see all those places. It's our perception about it. That's why you see people like, you went to poly, you went to technical school. But even in those developed world that we are running to, some persons did not go to university. and they are doing well. They are well-to-do people. They are even earning more than people with university degree, because it's based on what can you do. You understand? What can you do? Like a friend of mine didn't even study engineering. He started learning coding. He didn't have a university degree in this thing. The guy is in Canada presently because of what he can do. Can you do this job? It's not where you be saying, I have first class, I have double first class, or I'm a this thing. Do you know I come out with 4 point something? That your 4 point something, what can you do with it? You understand? So I think there's a need to change people's perspective about education in this country, and the way we see university, polytechnic, technical school, and government should even invest more in those technical schools and polytechnic. If you can't go to university, go to this technical school. And when you have that skill and you are very competent in it, it will make way for you. But everybody wants to go to university. There's no problem.
My question is to you, the issue of subsidy.
Yeah.
Is now that there is no there is removal of subsidy, where exactly is this resource? Where exactly is this money expected to go into? I think that's one point this present government have not exactly, is the plan that have not really laid out for citizens that should understand. What are we expecting from this per se? It's more like we are being beckoned on to, endure and suffer for the greater good and all that. But what is supposed to be that heaven on earth we are expecting after a while?
Well, everybody has been. I'm not in the president's cabinet. I'm not a spokesperson for the president. But for me, there has just been this message of hope that don't worry, in some months' time, everybody will be okay. But I've not seen any evidence that okay. What they just said is that okay, if you are able to save this money that we are giving out to. We are doing Father Christmas to some people there. The money can be used to plug back into the system, maybe for education, for instance, or healthcare and all those. Those are the things that they have said with their mouths openly. So we are expecting that those money, at least we have done 1 month now, the money should be put to use. But another problem is, even when NPC is saying that this money we are talking is paper money, that even the government, nobody has been paying any money to anybody. I'm not shocked. Like, are they trying to confuse us? But they are still insisting that there is a subsidy that I don't know the way they balance it. I think it's based on
all these things to actually question this present administration. Do you think they are steering us? Do you think they're steering this nation in the right path at all? Because they come with so much controversy, so much question. Even when they try to bring out policies, we are not even sure. I don't think they themselves, they don't exactly act confident in the policies they bring out too. So how are we expected to be confident in this administration?
Well, I think we should they are just a month in service, in office, you understand? We should just give them a benefit of doubt. It's still too early to judge them based on their policies, but so far, what I see in this present administration is that they communicate often with Nigerians and trying to identify with the problems that is on ground. Okay, this problem, we know that we are going to encounter it, and we are going to do do justice to it. You don't need to pity us. However, look at the present tax reform that they just instituted the committee of maybe about 30-something people that is being chairman by this man from PwC, a very vast guy in terms of when you're talking about tax and all that. So for somebody to even be working in PwC and be heading that team, is somebody that has so they are looking at those things. They said there are some things, there are some policies that needs to be on ground. It's like you are doing land preparation for you to cultivate maybe a cocoa farm or these things. So presently it doesn't look like they are doing anything. You understand? But even the economists of this country, they have been saying, okay, these policies are okay. The only thing there is that we are just hoping that they won't just diverge and say, okay, they don't understand this thing anymore. You understand? Because politicians know how to just look for a way to just push blame. But they have not been pushing any blame, even to the previous administration. Unlike what Baba Buhari was doing when he came in, but was always blaming President Goodluck. But this, one thing I can take home from there is that they have never blamed anybody. This is the job for us to do. Give us time. We are going to get it right. You understand? So I want us to look at the global picture. Not as much as we want to scrutinize the policies and look at the politicking inside the policies too. You understand? So, but let's look at the global picture. What are they trying to achieve for Nigeria? They say they want to make sure that they do tax reform, different policies, economic policies to set Nigeria on the right path. Then maybe companies, different manufacturing industries can now come in and invest in this country, because the government, we must be factual, the government cannot be the sole investor in this country. It can only set the right policies, look at policy reforms and all those things to ensure that there is prosperity in the country, in the land.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It has been a wonderful discussion so far. We hope to have you again some other time.
Yeah. I'll come.
Of course. Well, to our viewers, thank you for always coming back to watch Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN television. And just like he said, we should just cross our fingers and wait for the government to do their job, which is to govern us. And our own duty is actually just to support them and see what they come up with at the end of the day. Thank you so much once again for joining us on this episode of Daybreak Africa. And this is where we'll be handing you over to our Lagos station that has a package prepared for you. Please stay tuned while I sign out. I am Angela DAKU.
Have a great day. I remain Ezekiel.
Bye.